Okay, we're recording.
Oh, okay. Let me just share my screen. Oh. Share screen. Okay, so thank you everybody for attending. I've kept this quite concise and strategic to allow room for questions that you may have, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the slides. So, content marketing. This is a statistics that I saw a couple of weeks ago that I thought was really good for you to know. So content marketing gets 62% more leads than any other form of traditional marketing. So at the moment, especially during lockdown, everyone is all concerned about being online and being present on social media. And this just propels the fact that content marketing is more important now than it ever was. And to get it right is paramount to what you're trying to do in your business. So we start off with what is content? So a little definition here. Content is the presentation of information for a purpose to an audience through a specific channel. So content could be, it could be something that you read, something that you watch in video form, in form of podcasts. So we're exposed to so many different types of content every day, and there are more and more forms coming out as we move towards different trends. So I've got here some different types of content. Not all content is equal, as you may know or may not know. Evergreen content such as blogs and videos are generally more searchable, especially if you're consuming your content on the likes of YouTube, social media. We're tending to search for things specifically that we want to consume, we want to learn about, we're searching those. So these types of contents are very good to create because they will be searchable now and in the next 5 to 10 years. And then there's social media content. So why is content important? So there's lots of reasons why content is important for your business. Number one being it creates trust. So the more content you put out there in whatever form it may be, your audience is seeing this content and they're recognizing that you are somebody that they can come to talk about what their issues are. If you're selling a product, then they can come to you and ask you questions about their product. If you are putting out educational content, then you are positioning yourself as an expert. So you will get lots of questions, you'll get people commenting on your posts and on your content, asking you for your opinions. Content is very important for your SEO. And with SEO, you've got to think about where you're placing your content. If you're placing it on your website and as a blog, then that increases your SEO. Also, videos do well for SEO. If you're placing your videos on YouTube, YouTube is, the second largest search engine, bar Google. So that's really important for SEO. If you want to increase your SEO, is to use YouTube. Your content attracts new audiences and new views. So if you want your business to be visible, then putting out a piece of content, the right piece of content, will draw those audiences in. And during this presentation, we'll talk about how specifically you can do that to tailor it to your audience. And also, content increases your brand awareness. So if you're not putting your content out there, where can people find you? You may have a website, but are you communicating that your website is there? Are you giving somebody a reason to visit your website? Just by saying, this is my website, doesn't mean that somebody's going to go and look at your website. So people use content as a softer approach to tell people what you want them to do. So if you want somebody to visit your website, you'll create a piece of content, and then the call to action would be the website. And also it helps your inbound leads. So for any business, the ideal scenario would be that you would get people coming to you to ask for your business, rather than you trying to go and find customers. So content is a really good way to get people to come to you, rather than you trying to find people. So here we talk about content strategy. When a lot of small businesses think about content, they struggle to know what to post. They think, oh, I need to post something today. What shall I post? Let me just write this really quickly. And that is completely the wrong approach, because when you're rushing to post something, you're not thinking strategically about your business goals. You're not aligning yourself with what your values are, what your principles are, and what you really want that piece of content to say to your audience. So when you have a content strategy, your content will be based on the research that you'll be doing. As a business, you'll naturally do some market research anyway to understand your market and understand your competitors. Your content will be valuable to your ideal audience. So another misconception is, when putting out content, is what do I want to say to my audience or to my potential clients? And this is the wrong approach to take, because you're creating content for your ideal audience. You need to talk to them in a way that they can hear you, that they are aligned to listen to what you're saying. So what is it that your ideal audience wants to hear? They don't necessarily want to hear about your breakfast or what you did on the weekend, but they might want to hear about how your product or your service can help them with the problem that they have. So it's identifying those points which you should know if you're doing research into your business. So going back to the point, making sure that your content is something that your audience wants to see, because just because you put a post out there or a video or a reel doesn't mean that you're going to get hundreds and thousands of people looking at your content if it's not what they want to see. So research is really important. And your strategy will bring you the results that you want. So when you create your strategy, it needs to be really specific and outline what is your message saying, what pain points are you touching upon for your ideal audience, how are you solving their issues, and what do you want out of that piece of content? Is it likes? Is it clicks? Is it comments? Do you want people to start following you? Do you want people to go to your website? Do you want people to, WhatsApp message you with questions? What is it that you really want? Because if you, especially with social media, people get wrapped around, I want X amount of likes or I want X amount of followers, but those are just vanity metrics that don't really mean anything. And Instagram now they're trialing their platform to not be so consumed by likes. So I think there is a shift towards not seeing how many likes there is and how many people are following, because they want to make sure that the content that you're putting there is really valuable. So with the strategy, there'll be no more guessing. Oh, I wonder how many comments I'll get with this, or I wonder how many people will come to my website. Because when you create that piece of content, you will be aligning it to what you want your results to be. And your strategy will attract your ideal clients like magnets, because you are telling them exactly what they want to hear, probably even before they know they want to hear it. So, and when you start doing that, that is when you will start to see the benefits of your content. And then you will convert your audience easily into paying clients. So strategy is really important before you start thinking about what and where to post. So 3 main types of content you should be creating. And these 3 are high engaging content. So educational, can you teach somebody somebody something today? Can you add value based on your product? How can your product or service help your ideal client? What are they looking for? What do you solve for them? Inspirational. Can you offer them a, sometimes content is created for a feeling. You want the person looking at your content to feel something. Do you want them to feel a specific emotion? Do you want them to feel happy? Or do you want them to feel like this is exactly what I've been waiting for? Or is it, do you want to create humor, laughter, make them feel good? All depending on what your audience is looking for and what your product or service is. And the last one is promotional. So your content shouldn't be all about selling. It should be all around value and education, with bits of promotional in. So yes, you do want to sell in your content, but I would say there's an 80-20 split. So promotional being, 20% of that, and then 80% made up of educational and inspirational, offering that value. Because if you're always selling, people aren't going to be interested in what you're going to say, and they're just going to go past your content because they know, I've seen your content for the last 2 weeks and all you're telling me to do is buy your product. So they're just naturally going to think, oh, I don't want to see that. I know what it is. So it's good to switch up your content. Now, before you start creating content, there are a couple of fundamentals that you need to get right. And we've been over this a couple of times, but it's always a work in progress. So number one being know your niche. And I think everybody now should have a good idea of what their niche is, and it's completely okay for your niche to change as your business evolves, or to add in another niche as your suite of products or services evolve. So identify your tone of voice. How are you speaking to your audience? Is your tone of voice very
Hi, Christabel. I think you've just frozen. Can everybody else?
No, it did freeze.
It's gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
I'm back. Okay.
I think
I don't know where.
one was know your niche, or
Okay. So yeah, let me start from know your niche. Okay. So know your niche. I think you all should probably know where your niche is now. And I was saying that it's okay for your niche to change as your business evolves. It's okay to add in another niche as your products and services expand. So just because you're starting off with a specific niche doesn't mean that you can't ever change it. Business is always evolving, and that should also evolve. And as you learn more about your ideal audience, naturally that might change. So don't be too concerned about, this is my niche, I can't sell to anyone else. It's okay. So within that, identifying your tone of voice. So with tone of voice, you need to know how you're speaking to your audience. What language are you using? Are you talking to them in a very, I'm going to use the example of very corporate. So is it very to the point, or is it very, humanized? Do you say hey? Do you say hello? Do you?
oh, I think you've gone again. Christabel, your screen's frozen again.
Oh no. Okay, can you see me?
We can hear you better than we can see you. Your video's frozen, but we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't remember where I got to now. So yeah, making sure that you are providing value to your audience. So when you do your research, you will know what the pain points of your audience is, and you will know what they're looking for, what they're worried about, and your content should be there to solve their problems, as opposed to asking them, buy my product. This is where you can find my product. This is why my product is great. So you need to change your tone of voice and what you're saying to come from a place of value rather than, I'm so great, buy my product. And before you start, it's very important to create what we call content pillars. And content pillars are specific areas where you will be talking to your audience, and we'll come on to that in a second. And once you've created your content pillars, you will then create a bank of content which you can use over and over again to speak to your audience. So content pillars. So what are content pillars? These are between 3 and 5 topics that your brand will talk about and share consistently. So these topics are areas where you can show that you're an expert, or they show that the products and services that you're selling. So on the right here, I've put down the most popular content pillars that I regularly use and small businesses use. So we spoke about inspirational content, motivational, educational, promotional, and entertaining. So all of your content that you put out should fit into one of these, or sometimes, you know, multiple of these buckets here. And your content should be a mixture of all of these to create interest, so it doesn't get too boring. So if you're always putting out quotes and motivational content, then your audience isn't going to know what you're selling and what you can do for them and how you can solve their problem and all of the things that you're doing in your business. So it's really important to have a mixture of these pieces of content to really engage your audience and for them to know you're a business, you're reliable, your products are exactly what they're looking for, and this is how they can buy. And when you create your content pillars, you should outline some content buckets under each pillars with all the ideas that you have. So I've just put an example here. This is a spreadsheet that I use for content buckets. So just to give you some examples of entertainment content buckets, so you can use memes. You know, memes are really, really popular now. A lot of the content that is going viral usually has memes or something a bit quirky. So throwback, your entertainment content can be throwback to, you know, if you're a new business, it could be throwback to last year when, you know, I didn't even have a business and look where I am now, or last year when I just started my website and my website's doing great now. So giving that comparison, just giving that comparison is really good for your audience. You can do things like content and giveaways. They're really, really popular. Seasonal content, viral content, videos.
Everybody just mute, please. I think that might be feedback.
Yeah.
No, my computer was playing up. I'm sorry. I just turned that off and gone back onto my phone.
That's okay. Okay, so professional content, you could use quotes, facts and trivia, you know, appealing images, your personal stories. You can use client testimonials, educational content. There's some examples here, blogs, other people's blogs that you could reshare to show that you have an interest in that area and that you know what you're talking about. Some tips, you know, if you've got some tips that you could offer your audience, that immediately builds, you know, trust and like within your audience. Case studies, free resources are a good one. In your content, you know, offering value. So if it's not value that come from you, offering a free resource is also valuable for your audience. Live training is really popular to draw in your audience, and people, I think before lockdown, were scared of going live and on video calls and things, but I think now people are more drawn to lives, especially on Instagram and Facebook. So if you do want to speak to a wide audience and you want that engagement and you want that interaction, live is really good. And there's lots of different ideas here for conversions, questions, ask questions to your audience, polls, find out more about them. So behind the scenes in your business creates great connection. It allows your audience to know, that you are just like them. You are trying to help them, offer them value, and you've got great expertise, and your business is a business that they could get involved in. And promotion is all around the promotion of your products. So if you were to do, live events or online events to promote your products, you could get a client on a live or on a Zoom call for them to give a testimonial, and you can use that as a great piece of content. So there are lots of different examples here, and you may have questions later on around content buckets. So I'm coming to captions now. So when you create your content, yes, you may have a nice image or a nice video that draws that person in, but especially on Facebook and Instagram, it's your captions that really tell that audience what it is that you want to say to them. So your picture and your post can only say too many things. So you can only say so many things, but your caption is where you really want to draw that person in, tell them what they want to do. So number one tip would be to create captions with intention. So why are you creating your post? Is it just to put a piece of content out there, or is your post to actually showcase, I've got a new line of products coming out, or you want to ask their opinion, So Balbir, if you're creating a new arrangement and you're not sure that it will sell, or you're not sure what people think, you can put a picture of it, and then your caption could be asking a question, could be asking them, what do you think about this? Would you prefer red or green? Or, so just really trying to connect with your audience, and giving them a reason to read your post. So there should always be a specific action. So whether that action is a promotional action where you want somebody to buy something or click to go to a website, or you simply want an action where you want somebody to basically say, yes, I agree with this motivational quote, or I like these colors, or, I would add this in. So creating that engagement on every single post is really what you want to do, because you'll never grow if you're just relying on likes and followers. It's that engagement that's really, really important to take your business from being, having followers and having people look at your post to actually being paid customers. And you need to be intentional about, do you want to show your personality, or just really thinking about what this post is about and what you want to create, what emotion or action you want to create with this post. So like I said, with engagement, you want to encourage conversations. So you can caption your image or your post with one line. So I've got an example here, a one-line sentence about how you like coffee won't be enough. So instead of that, ask open-ended questions to prompt the interaction. So, instead of that, you could say, I loved iced lattes in the summer. What's your favorite drink? So you're getting that person to think about your product. So, Balbir, I'll use your flowers as an example. I love yellow flowers in the spring. What's your favorite flower? So you're getting them to think about your product, which is flowers, and then you're getting them to think about what they like, and then they'll tell you what they like, and then that's how you gather your research in real time. So, you get people saying, majority of people saying they like yellow flowers. Then use that to your advantage and think, okay, I need to put more yellow flowers in my displays or in my bouquets.
Yeah.
And it's not enough just for them to say yes or no, because yes or no, you know, it's the conversation has kind of ended if they're saying yes or no. But if they're giving you their opinion, then you can then ask them another question. Okay, you like yellow flowers. You know, you could talk about daffodils, or you could talk about, you know, yellow goes great with, I don't know, red, or you could just continue the conversation that way if it's open-ended rather than a closed yes or no. And then, you know, your next piece of content could include yellow flowers, and you can, you know, tag them in it or mention them and say, you know, oh, here's your favorite color. What do you think of these? You know, so that conversation continues.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, with your, oh, this is the same slide, sorry. So including call to actions is really important on every single post. And call to actions, when I say call to action, doesn't necessarily mean click now to buy. A call to action could be, do you have any more questions, or what would you like to know, or, you know, ask me anything, or a question that prompts a response that you're looking for. So yeah, the example I give here is to ask your followers to visit your latest blog or answer questions. So although not every single post needs to have a call to action, when you do have a call to action, you are encouraging that person to engage with you. But on the other side, if all your call to actions are salesy, then that will put your audience off. They won't engage with you if you're always asking them to buy from you. So that there is a bit of a balance there. So going back to the 80-20 rule that I was talking about earlier on. And adding value. So your content should always add value. And it's the best way to connect with an audience is if you can add value to their day, because they immediately think, oh, you know, this person's great. They've just given me a tip, or I forgot to do that today. This is a great thing for me to do. Or, you know, this is an amazing product that I've been looking for. Just adding value to that person's day can really help your brand awareness and your engagement. So, you know, giving them something to aspire to or to share, or even to, you know, give them a little laugh, and just encourage them to engage with you. So also when you're creating your content, it's important to put yourself in the shoes of your audience. So before you post content, I normally go through these steps. So take a step back and think about, would my audience actually care about what I'm saying? Is it valuable to them? Or am I just telling them what I think they want to know? Or am I just telling them what I want to tell them? And if your content is created based on what you want to tell them, then it won't convert, because you want your audience to buy from you. So it needs to be what they want to see. If you saw your post, would you have something to say? Would you engage with it? Is it exciting enough? Or is it something that you'll just scroll by and just think, yeah, that, you know, that was okay, but you wouldn't respond to it. And just thinking, you know, would they find it interesting? And is my caption that I'm writing for that post, does it reflect me or my brand? Have I given them enough to know about me and relate to what I'm saying, for them to be able to take the next action? And it's always best to be authentic, because, you know, it does come across when you're not being authentic, or when you are really being authentic, then it is apparent for somebody who's looking at your content by the words that you use, by the little humorous jokes that you make. It's very apparent that you're being authentic, and people will buy into you rather than what you're having to sell. So it's important to be true to your voice, and use your personality or your brand personality in your content. And lastly, storytelling is really important. It's a great way to get your audience to know you and to trust you and to really relate to what you're saying and make real connection based on your personality or your brand personality, whichever one that you're using for your marketing. So I've left quite a bit of time for questions because I knew that questions will come up, and there's probably loads.
Christabel, this is slightly unrelated because I've been quite without my computer. In fact, I haven't still got my computer. I've sort of set up my website. I took it on about a month ago, and then for the next 3 weeks I couldn't. It's a free trial kind of thing, but now apparently it's gone up. I just want to know, because I haven't put the content in it, I haven't put anything in it, but it's been published, and because I'm not that familiar with, how can I stop it from being published so that I can add bits of what you've been talking about today before I launch it?
Yeah, so if your content hasn't got, if your website hasn't got any of the content that you need, then it should be put on pause, or, you know, can't remember what the correct term is, but it shouldn't be live, basically. So you need to log into your back end of the website, and then just simply unpublish the website. It's like a tick box or something. It's very simple to do. Okay, all right, I'll do that. Yeah, no, that's great. And with this thing, what you're talking about today, like my core is my flowers, but could I be in there writing about, a tip for sort of tips or so, you know, unrelated aspects of that may interest other people, which also interest me, like hacks or, you know, quotes from various places. I mean, random things rather than stick to a certain line of my personality kind of thing. Okay, so do you have a separate business social media account, or are you just using the same? No, I will have my social media account will be BK Flowers. My normal is Balbis Sahota. Okay. So within my BK Flowers, I'd go in and do. I haven't done a blog yet, but I'm so sure I'll get someone to help me. But do a blog, and on that, write display my flowers. Say something about my flowers, but write have an unrelated item that might interest people, even if it's just like how to meditate for 5 minutes, you know, how you can help yourself or things like that. Just something. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about, or is that something relevant or not? I mean, you could have, if I'm honest, I wouldn't put those things on your business account, because if you look back to strategy, content like that, you know, is content that you're interested in. Yes. Is your ideal client, they possibly could be interested in that, but they can't get those services from you. No. So all of your content should be resonating with your ideal audience about what your product is. Okay. So yeah. So it's relating to the flowers, like, oh, this is in season this year or this month, and, you know, I love this color. What colors of these would you like, etc. Just something to do with that, and, you know, and maybe like in your house pictures, and put decorations there with nice flowers, and say, oh, these colors go with that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to bring the meditation aspect in, you need to align it to your business. So you could say, you know, if you did a meditation class, or if there are flowers that are traditionally, I don't know, more soothing or have a link to meditation. I don't know if there is, but no. But you have calming colors, don't you? You have like blues, and the flowers that are come in blues, and the flowers that come in oranges and reds and stuff like that. So I see what you think. Yeah. So you need to make a link, drawing it back to your business. Because if you're just randomly talking about meditation, then, you know, because people are following you for a reason. And if your business is flowers, They're interested in what you have to say about flowers, your expertise. You could talk about, you could go further, you could go deeper. Like flowers, some flowers have different smells.
Yes.
That could set off different emotions. So you could talk about that and link it to meditation if if that's what you want to do. So I think thinking outside the box a little bit, just because it's flowers doesn't mean you can't talk about smells, feelings, emotions, things like that. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else got any questions?
Hi, Patrick.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've got a question. My area is working to provide a listening service to people who are going through a bad time. I had a time in my life where I had over a 3 to 5 year period, some really bad things happened. My son died. I became divorced. I went into bankruptcy, and I also then went into deep depression and came out the other end. What level of transparency and honesty is appropriate in telling that story?
Okay, so I think, especially with your service, your clients will be coming to you because they want to be open and transparent about what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And I think, if we think about this on a human level, you're only going to really open up to somebody about those things if you feel like there's a connection and you feel like you can. So I think for you, it's important to create that human connection and to be transparent if you're comfortable with it. But I think you need to do it in a way that's quite sensitive. You can choose certain words, and your tone of voice needs to be right, because these people are coming to you in probably the worst times of their life, that you almost need to come to it from a positive way, to allow them to approach you and to be open with you. So it's all about the language, I think, for you, but being open and transparent I think is key.
I mean, I'm out of it, and I've been out of it for a long time. I have very positive relationships with my ex-wife. I think of my son on a loving and kind basis. It's not easy, but it's not pain.
Yeah.
My bankruptcy, that's well sorted, and wasn't my fault. I had a client who completely stuffed me, so I couldn't pay my tax bill, and the Inland Revenue, in their mercy, decided the best thing for me was to be put into bankruptcy. But so I'm really out the other side, and one of the big things for me was when I saw my doctor, who told me to put me on some sort of fairly strong antidepressants. The piece of advice she gave me was that an antidepressant doesn't cure anything. She said all it will do is give you a bit of headroom, and if you don't work to sort out things in your life, in 2 years, 3 years' time, you'll be in a much worse situation than you are today. And when I take you off of the antidepressants, your life will, I won't tell you exactly what she said to me because she was very rude. But sometimes people have to speak to me like that to make sure they get through to me. And so it was really having the headroom, the space to actually sort things out. And I spoke to lots of people helped me, lots of people spoke to me. And I used that time to really get back up. And I'm a very happy individual and a very contented individual.
Yeah. And I think all of those things that you just said, are reasons why people will come to you and open up to you and put their trust in you. So yeah,
it's appropriate. You think it's appropriate? I've never been too sure.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think if it comes back to research. If you have a look at other, counsellors or other people in your market, I think you will find that they do have a little bit, they have a bio with their personal journey.
Sure. Okay.
So I think it's definitely appropriate, but again, it's about the language that you use.
Sure.
And when you do your research, if you can pinpoint, 3 or 4 people that you aspire to, like businesses that you aspire to be, then you can look at how that fits within your brand voice and your tone of voice and tailor it that way. So a bit of research, I think, but definitely be authentic and be yourself, and that's what's going to draw people to you. Yeah.
Can I just say one other thing is, working with you guys, I feel confident enough to ask that question. So what it's worth, that's a great compliment to my trust in you.
Oh, thank you for sharing though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, Patrick. Has anybody got any other questions?
It's Sarah here. Can I ask a quick question? Because of what we're doing, we're basically helping people get through stress, anxiety, those sorts of things. Like, how much can you keep talking about that particular topic without it becoming overbearing, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, people want to just hear about, oh, are you feeling stressed? Are you this? Are you that? They don't want to always focus on the negatives. So how would you do a post or a blog, to make it into a positive, if that makes sense?
I think, when you think about stress, yes, immediately it's a negative thing to talk about, but also you can flip that around and talk about how you relieve stress, or how you were feeling stressed. These are the things that, okay, now you feel great, you don't feel stressed on a daily basis anymore because of this, and then it becomes positive, right? But you're still touching upon that pain point that your ideal audience has, and they're looking for the solution, and the solution are your positive points.
Okay. So then testimonials would be a good way to kind of do a positive, because most of the testimonials will say, I don't know, I was feeling XYZ, and after having a couple of sessions, I now feel like this.
Yeah, testimonials are perfect.
Yeah, so I would use those then, either in video or in text form. It's like create it on Canva or something as a testimonial.
Yeah, I think if you can get it in video form, perfect. And then you can repurpose that into text, because they've signed off on the video, and all you're doing is you're taking their words and you're putting it into text, written text on Canva. Yeah. So I think, try and get it in video if you can, and then then you've got it both.
Okay, yeah, I think with some people I will be able to get video, but with a lot of people, because it's quite sensitive what they've maybe been through, they probably won't want to be publicly talking about it.
Yeah.
And even their testimonial might have to be anonymous on occasions,
yeah.
or a pseudo name or something. That would be okay, right? If it was,
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. In certain industries, people don't want to be named and want to be kept anonymous.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah,
it's part of their privacy. About obviously, they talk about a lot of personal stuff. A lot of people have been through, things like grief, trauma. Even more serious things. So if we just did it as a written thing and anonymous, that would be like okay to do. Okay, and then the other thing is, like, would like, in terms of adding value or giving value, that article that I wrote on pranic healing, could I just break that down into bite-sized chunks and say, what do you think, where do you think energy comes from, or what's your view on energy?
Yeah.
And get some engagement first, then give like kind of my answer to it.
So I think you need to draw them in first. I mean, just saying what do you think energy is, or what's your take on energy, that should be the action.
The call to action.
That should
Okay.
be the call to action for them to engage with you and give you their opinions. But you need something substantial, or a hook, or a nice image for them to stop the scroll and think, oh, this is interesting, let me read. They read your caption, and then the call to action would be, what's your views, or what's your experience with energy, or whatever it is that you want to say.
Okay, all right. And would you post the same thing on all your social media? So if it was Facebook, would you post the same thing on Insta, and the same, like, would you just copy it over, or do they have to be different?
I mean, they don't have to be different, but if you look at your social platforms, it's the same audience that you have on Facebook. Are they identical to Instagram? I think a lot of them generally will be similar, but they won't always be the same audience.
No.
And also, you've got to think about your time. How much time are you spending creating content? If you don't have the time to tweak it a little bit, then don't. But if you do have the time, and you have someone helping you, then you can tailor it to your audience on Instagram or on Facebook. But traditionally, Instagram is more image and video heavy.
Okay.
Rather than text. I would never just put text on Instagram without a video or a nice engaging image. On Facebook, you can get away with text.
Text, do you mean as in, I don't know, like a quote for the day type of thing? Is that what you mean by text? So it's an image with some kind of caption on it for that day.
So that would come under image, but some posts on Facebook, they're literally it's just writing. There's no image. There's nothing.
Okay.
So with Facebook, that is acceptable every now and then, but on Instagram, I would never do that, because Instagram is based on images.
Okay. So you're saying ideally make it slightly different, but if I needed to use the same, I can?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
an image or a video, like, there's not that much I'm going to be able to, like, if it's a testimonial, for example, that I'm posting, or a video, then I can't make it that much different.
Then yeah, you could definitely use the same. Yeah, I think with content, it needs to be consistent to get any real traction. And if you're making your piece of content different for every platform, and you're not being consistent because it takes too much time, then I would say just repost the same content. But as you grow, and as you have people helping you, or you have more time, then ideally you would want to tailor that to that audience, because your audience will be slightly different on Instagram than they would be on Facebook, slightly different. But for time purposes, I would say it's better to put out the same content than no content.
Okay. So one last question. So your personal account, so I've got two things. So I'm doing the joint thing, obviously, with Suki for targeting organizations. So on a bigger scale, which is Pranaji Power. But then I've got my own normal Sarah Baines, and my own website is sarahbaines.com. So would I still create a business page to do those kind of posts for my own personal page, if that makes sense, or would they just go on my personal page?
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. So you have a personal.
So my normal account is Sarah Baines on Facebook, and it's Sarah Baines UK on Instagram. Yeah, then the business one that I'm doing with Suki is Pranaji Power on Facebook, and Pranaji Power on Instagram. And the same for the website.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So I would say, because even though you're involved in both, they're two different businesses, right? So your Sarah Baines, you offer a different suite of products and services.
Yeah.
But Pranaji is what it is. So I think it needs to be different. There could be some crossover, but because you offer different services, it's not the same.
yeah, so I include pranic healing in my personal one as well as 2 other things. So there's nutrition, exercise, and counselling.
Yeah.
In the one standalone one.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of overlap with the pranic healing, but so if I've got, say, a testimonial from a client, like a personal one, just some not a corporate one, then would I still need to create a business page for that? Like, would I just call it Sarah Baines Health and Wellbeing or something, rather than put it on just my Sarah Baines account? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think you need to. Again, I think it comes down to time. It's not necessary. As you grow and as that grows, then you may need to create one if you're getting lots of traction there. But I think you can just use what you have at the moment.
So in terms of Facebook, then there's not a rule that says, I don't know, like if I'm putting loads of content and then I say book a free taster session, if I do that on my personal page, is that allowed or not allowed?
So on your personal page, linking to Sarah Baines.
Yeah.
That is allowed because you are Sarah Baines, right? That's your business.
Okay.
And there's nothing stopping you from doing that to any other business either. There's nothing saying that you can't, promote another business because you've had a good experience or you've had a good session. You can promote any business you like.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay, so on that instance, you're saying you can use your personal account to talk about, say, pranic healing and other things that you do, and put a promo on there for claim, like, book a free taster session. Is that right?
You can, but I wouldn't use your personal account for consistently
doing that, because I know there's some rules about that, isn't there? They block it otherwise.
Yeah, I think a post every now and then is fine because it's your business, you're Sarah Baines.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't use it as, because if you do that consistently, then you do need a separate account. But
okay.
The odd one here and there is fine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that's great. I think we've got about 5 more minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Got time for one more question. If there is another.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Hi, Christabel. You told that your niche, and then business evolves, and then the niche keeps on adding. So how do you actually know that you have to go into a different niche than your existing one? So how is this transition?
Yeah, so I think with any business, as it grows, there is a natural progression, right? You'll know more about your audience, and maybe your audience wants, another product that you could offer, or a similar product or a service that you could offer. And if that's something that you want to do, then you can add that on as like an add-on or a separate service. So all depending on what the research is showing you from your particular audience, you can take that and create, a sub niche. Or alternatively, if there's something new in the market and you think, I think it's Dawn that does cards, right? Is it Dawn? If you're
yes.
cards,
Sorry, I was muted.
So with you, Dawn, you've got a suite of greeting cards. The natural progression for your niche would be, the people that buy your cards might want wrapping paper, or might want, tags or things like that go within your niche. So although that's not your specific niche, you could create a suite of products that your ideal customer wants, and then that would be your sub niche.
Okay. And if the sub niche, you're just evolving and going into tags, as you said. So how do you align your content with it in that case? The content buckets or the bank of content. You already have one content strategy in place. So how do you take it over again? The next step.
So it would just be a case of like adding it in subtly every couple of posts or maybe every week to see what the feedback is, and and asking questions. And your call to action could be, what do you think about wrapping paper? Would you buy wrapping paper that is specifically for specifically ethnic designed, or is wrapping paper, does it not have the same emotions that comes with a card that is designed specifically for for you and your ethnicity? Maybe they don't want that, but it's adding it in subtly and asking questions and doing your research that way, rather than just guessing, because guessing doesn't really tell you anything. So yeah, just adding it in gradually and seeing how it works and seeing how those content pieces perform, and if they perform well, adding more. So it's a little bit of trial and error, because with your audience, as your audience grows, everybody will be different, everybody will have different opinions, and it's just collecting that information and using like the majority of the feedback to shape your business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
I think that almost brings us to 11. If there is anybody else who does have a question, please either just send it to me or send it in the group WhatsApp. That's fine if you're comfortable. Is that all right, Christabel? And then we can do that offline.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Can I add anything else, or I think we?
Yeah, I think that's it. I will send out the recording. I'll pass it over to Mandeep. But yeah, any questions that you have, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you a little bit of food for thought for what you're going to do with your own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really great. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.